you are going to be on a new Netflix show. And sorry, what's the name of it?
It's called the Blue Ribbon Baking Championship.
That's right. So tell me, first of all, what this show is. It's a one of those contest baking shows.
Right. So it's a baking reality show is what they call it. But it's a fair themed baking show. So it's all based around winning first, second, and third place ribbons. So like what you would do at like our Eastern Idaho State Fair has obviously all of the ribbons that you win there. So it's based around that, but it's not just cake. Like it's a variety of desserts, cake, pies, and kind of anything in between. So.
And the show premieres on Netflix Friday?
Friday, August 9th. So next Friday.
Can you talk about how you were selected?
Yeah, absolutely. So I got a comment on an Instagram post that I had made holding a ribbon that I had won at the Eastern Idaho State Fair. And I kind of thought it was a scam because it just said, hey, if you've ever would be interested in competing on like a fair themed TV show, like send us a message. So I didn't respond because I just assumed that it was kind of a scam. And about 2 hours later, the girl sent me a message and she's like, hey, I don't know if you saw my comment, but if you'd be interested, give me a call. So I had been on the Food Network in 2019, so I kind of knew how the process worked, that it seemed a little scammy at first, that somebody on social media was like, hey, do you want to be flown somewhere for free and be on TV? So I was more hesitant then. Obviously now I kind of knew how the process worked, and so sent her a message back, and we talked later that day on the phone, and then it just kind of progressed from there.
But let's go back. So this bakery you opened 3.5 years ago.
Sure.
But you've been baking for 10 years.
I have.
How did you get into baking?
You know, cupcakes were all the rage 10 or 15 years ago, and I think I kind of fell into that. I've always enjoyed to baked with my family, things like that, but I kind of fell into the cupcake fad. And so I worked at an elementary school at the time, and so I started doing a thing called Cupcake Fridays, and it was just really my way to like creatively kind of work on something that was outside of like working in the education like atmosphere. So I would take them in on Fridays. The teachers would not so much critique them because they were very nice, but they would, you know, kind of give me their feedback, too much frosting, things like that. And so that just kind of slowly progressed into, once you get hooked on cupcakes, then you start making cake, then you go to macaroons, you know, kind of that natural progression. So I got hooked on a lot of YouTube videos, things like that. And so I just kind of slowly kind of got addicted to doing it, and then it just kind of became a job.
What is the most rewarding thing about running a bakery?
I'd say probably the creative outlet is probably like the best part of it for me. Is like a lot of jobs you're going in and you're doing the same thing every day. And I realize that, you know, everybody has different aspects of their job that we do. But I mean, I'm coming in on Monday and, you know, we're making a SpongeBob cake. And then on Tuesday, it's something else. And then on Wednesday, it's a wedding. And then Thursday, it's just macaroons. And then the next day, it's Portneuf Hospital orders cookies with their logo on it. Like, there really isn't ever a day that I'm coming to work and it's the same every day. And so for me, I think that is the best part of it, is I have the ability to be creative. And a lot of our customers here, like, they just come in and say, hey, I want a SpongeBob birthday cake, but go for it. Like, they don't say, hey, I want this. And some people do, obviously, but most people know that, like, my creative outlet is kind of like, you give me your idea and I'll kind of run with it. And I always make the joke to people, I'm like, if you give like creative people like the freedom to kind of go with something, you're going to get a way cooler product than if you're like, it needs to look like this with this exact color and this shape. I love that part of my job the most, is you kind of give me your like mood board and like idea, and I kind of run with it. So for me, for sure, the creative outlet is definitely the best part of it.
People can tune in to find out how you did, and contractually you can't tell me how you did.
Correct.
I want you to do that because that would spoil the whole thing.
Right.
But for you, what was the biggest takeaway being a contestant on this show?
You know, when I went on the Food Network in 2019, I left. I was very disappointed. I did fine. Like, I didn't have like a horrible experience. I didn't win. Like, last minute my thing tipped over, and like for months it was very that like impostery syndrome of like, maybe I shouldn't have gone on there, you know, maybe I don't have the talent to do it. So for a long time I really struggled with like, I would never go back on TV. People ask all the time like, hey, would you ever do TV again? And here in the bakery I have like a display case that has like my Food Network stuff in it. And so people ask a lot like, oh, go do TV again. And for me, that was never an option, because I was like, nah, like, you blew it. Like, you blew your chance, kind of. And so when they called and said, hey, like, we watched your Food Network episode, like, we'd like to have you come back and do like not come back, obviously, because it was a different production place. But it was, for me, I think the best part is I knew going back, I had a redemption moment. And I'm not like a super competitive guy. Like, I don't really enjoy that. But I knew, like, most people don't ever get the opportunity to do this. No one gets really the opportunity to do it twice. So I thought, I've got to run with it. Unfortunately, you can't be super prepared for a show like this because you don't really know what's happening. But it was nice to go in there with a different mindset. And I told my sister and everybody before I left, like, I promised myself going in, like, I wanted to be authentic. I just wanted to like do the best. Like when I went on Food Network, I was like, I have to be amazing. It's got to be great. And on this one, I think I just thought like, you've just got to go in. You got to be yourself. You know what you're doing. You know how to bake. Like, be calm. You've done this before. It's going to be great. But I'd say the biggest takeaway from the whole experience is the 9 people that were there were incredible. Like and you always hear that kind of like flowery TV experience. And people are like, oh, all my friends that I made. But really, like, they're people I talk to every day. Like and this also sounds like kind of a dumb comment to make, but nobody else in the world had that experience. So like, yes, you've been on TV, yes, you've been in a competition reality show, but nobody else has baked in that barn. This is the first time this show's ever happened. Nobody else baked till 3 a.m. Nobody else, did all of those things. So like those 9 people are the only people that know like kind of what your situation was. So it is nice to like have those people. So like leaving, like sometimes you hear that like you leave shows and they're like, oh, I never talked to those people again. Like we weren't allowed to speak until the trailer came out. So that was kind of a difficult thing because you get to know people so closely, and then once you leave, you can't talk to them. So now that that the trailer has premiered, like we've been able to kind of talk again, and so that's been nice. But it's neat to be able to say you've been on TV and that you've done something like that, and to be from a small town it's cool to kind of be able to do that for Pocatello.
August 9th on Netflix.
Correct.
The Blue Ribbon Baking Championship.
Correct. We're doing a watch party on August 9th when the show comes out. We're going to start it at 6 o'clock. It's open to the public, so people are more than welcome to come and hang out and watch the show with us. But it starts at 6 o'clock.